Hi, I'm Danny with TriPoint Refrigeration. Today we're looking at a true two-door reach-in cooler. This is a model T35. It's a pretty common reach-in, and it's a good example of most of the reach-ins in the refrigeration world today. Today we're going to be specifically talking about the thermostat. Now, the thermostat that's in here is a mechanical thermostat. A lot of the new ones have a digital thermostat or a digital readout somewhere on the front display or down here at the bottom of the reach-in, but this one's got just a regular mechanical thermostat, which happens to be my favorite. So one of the things we're going to be talking about today is how do we set this thermostat, how do we measure the temperature of the reach-in, what should we be looking for technicians and for customers. Inside the reach-in, right up here, is a little black dial, and on that black dial you're going to have a 0 to 9. Okay, now the 0 is off and the 9 is the coldest setting. Now the way these thermostats work is they have what's called a constant cut-in, and that constant cut-in is set at 40 degrees. So when that thermostat, which goes inside the evaporator, and that's the part inside the reach-in that gets cold, when that thermostat goes inside that evaporator, and when that evaporator gets to 40 degrees, it turns the refrigeration system on and starts cooling down. Well, the constant cut-in allows it to turn on every time at 40 degrees. The dial inside only adjusts when it's gonna cut out, when it's gonna turn off, okay? Now, True recommends to set the setting on the dial to 5. If you'll notice, there's no temperatures on that, and we'll show it on the video. There's no temperatures on that, it's just 1 to 9. And so it's kind of hard to know what these numbers really are. But True recommends that the dial is set at 5 to start, and then if you want to set the dial and dial it in even more, you can by using a temperature probe, which we'll show in a minute. The number 1 setting on that dial equates to about 22 degrees, okay? So that's the warmest that it's gonna get, okay? Now that 22 degrees does not mean that you're gonna have a product temperature of 22 degrees, because then it would not be a cooler, it would be a freezer. This is evaporator temperature, and that evaporator temperature at 22 degrees, we have about a 10 degree temperature difference across the evaporator coil, which means the box, we're gonna be blowing out about 32 degree air, okay? Now, that's setting number 1. Now, setting number 9, which is the coldest setting on these thermostats, goes to about 16 degrees. So it will give you about a 26 degree cut out. So the refrigeration system will stop running when it gets to about 26 degrees or about a 16 degree evaporator, okay? Now, when we go and we set this thermostat, True recommends to set it at about 5 and then kind of let it run and see where it's at. Now, I recommend that you let it cycle 3 times before making any adjustments after that. I like to use the Fluke 52.2 temperature probe. It's a really good thermometer. It's scientifically calibrated and all that kind of fun stuff, so it's pretty accurate. I use a K-type probe. One of the things I like to do with the K-type probe is I want to get air temperature and not like product temperature or anything like that of this box when I set the temperature probe. So one of the things I'll do is I'll take this end, and I'll just tie the end of it in a little loose knot, nothing like big and fancy, like that, so that whenever I put this inside the reach-in to check the temperature, it allows me to better control where my temperature probe is, so I know that I'm not like touching metal or touching a product or something like that. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put this in. So what I like to do is I like to wrap it around the wire shelf. And then since I have that knot on there, I can use that knot to kind of hold the probe where I want it. And then I can shut my door, and then I can plug in my temperature probe into my thermometer. So I plug it in. It's going to take a little bit of time for that thermometer to read the temperature, but you can see it's pulling down. So we're sitting at 37.5, and it's pulling down. I can hit my min-max button here, and I can see the maximum temperature was 51.5, so that was when it was out, or when I very first shut the door. And it's still pulling down, but I can see, here in a minute it'll give me my average temperature. Now I'm sitting about 32.7. Now, this reach-in, I have not looked at the thermostat. I have no idea where it's set. I have no idea. This was actually a used reach-in we used it for some training and refurbished it, and actually turned it on yesterday and walked away. So I've never looked at the thermostat on this. This will be the first time. But I'm gonna see where this temperature gets down to, because I can hear the compressor's not running. So I know that it's satisfied on the thermostat. My box temperature inside is right about 30 degrees, which tells me that my evaporator temperature is gonna be pretty close to about 40 if we hit that 10-degree TD. Now remember, these thermostats and these temperature probes, they're not exactly perfect. There's gonna be a plus or minus 2 degrees or plus or minus 1.5 to 2% on the thermostat inside the reach-in and your thermometer. So it might not be exactly 40. It could be 40 and a half or 41 or 39, 39 and a half. But ultimately, when you get product in these, it's not going to make a difference. We let the unit run. Got down to about 30 degrees. Had the thermostat set on 4. I bumped it down to 3. Thermostat shut off, or the compressor shut off. Thermostat stopped calling for refrigeration. I've let it warm up and I've turned it off so that we can show it on video. So I've let it warm up, I turn it back on, and I know that the thermostat setting of 4 was about 30 degrees. Like I said, I bumped it down to 3, which is on the warmer side, which should give us about a 31 to 32 degree cutout, which is going to be perfect for this reach-in. So we can watch this temperature probe, and we'll watch it get back down to 32, watch it shut off, and then our thermostat will be set and we should be in good shape. So here we go, 41, we're pulling back down. Now again, the temperature is artificially inflated because as I open and close this door, there's nothing in the reach-in. There's no product in here helping keep the reach-in at temperature. And my temperature probe is just sitting right here on the front. So all the warm air from outside is just going in. And so that's why my temperature is going up. So when I shut the door, it'll start pulling down really quick, but that's why it artificially inflates. So you gotta remember that when you're setting these thermostats. So we'll watch it pull down. And like I said, I'm gonna hit the min-max when I get to about 41 right here. Boom, min-max. So my maximum temperature was 40.8. And we're gonna let this thing just continue to pull down. .5, looking pretty good. Okay, so we get down to 31.9, unit shut off. So that gives us about a 21 degree evaporator, because we're looking for that 10 degree TD. And now it's starting to warm up again, and it's gonna get up to the air temperature in there of about 41 or so. And then come back on and keep doing that cycle. One thing to remember, it's really difficult to set the thermostats on a reach-in like this when there's no product in there. The product helps keep the temperature balanced and averaged in there. And so the product itself is part of the refrigeration process. It helps keep helps keep the temperature at a good solid average temperature. So anyway, if you have any questions about this or have any need a service call on your commercial reach-in freezers or coolers, we work on all the brands, True, Continental, Blue Air, Trolson, all of them. Give us a call. We're Tri-Point Refrigeration out of Lubbock, Texas and Austin, Texas. Our phone number is 512-651-4565, or visit us on our website at www.tripointrefrigeration.com.